Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. First question. Can the front barbell squat and low handle trap bar deadlifts be suitable permanent situations for the high-low bar barbell squat and conventional deadlift for someone with knee and low back injuries? I can do the front squats and trap bar deadlifts without aggravating my past injuries. Am I losing gains if these have to be my primary movements? Interesting question. A lot of that I'm going to say, if you can't do the others and these are what you can do, you really only have two options. You can either not do any sort of squatting or deadlifting, which I don't think is a good option, or you can do the exercises that you're physically capable of doing. Now, do I think that these exercises can completely replace them? No, I don't think they can. I think that your posterior chain development is going to get neglected a bit. Because again, what we're dealing with here is, if you're dealing with a knee injury, that's what I don't get. I understand a back injury here. Okay, fine. These can put different stress on it. But the thing is, you're going to get more compressive stress with the trap bar deadlift. And so it puzzles me a little bit that these are the two exercises that you can do. And particularly when it comes to knee injuries, you're going to end up being more quad dominant with these two exercises. The front squat uses less hamstring than the back squat. The trap bar deadlift uses less hamstring than a conventional deadlift. Now, people with a history of knee injuries, building your hips and your hamstrings up as strong as possible is a good idea. So I don't know, you're in a bit of a conundrum here. Without me being able to assess it, I don't know what to tell you there. So again, that's stuff maybe you should find an expert who deals in rehabilitation and see what they can do to get you back to doing these exercises. Now, if that's not an option and you can do these movements, they're still good exercises. I mean, the front squat's a great exercise. I don't think it's overall quite as useful as a back squat. And I don't think the trap bar deadlift brings everything to the table that the conventional deadlift does. But they're still very good exercises, and they're certainly a hell of a lot better than playing around and pussyfooting around on the machine. Or, as I always say, leaping around the gym playing leapfrog and grab ass with your gym buddies. So, if that's what you can do, then get in and get as strong as you possibly can on these two exercises, and at least you are training, and at least you're training your lower body with big movements. So you're still better off than 90% of the people who come in and fluff and pump and play around and play grab ass and pose in the mirror and do 37 sets of cable press downs. You're still doing better than them. So get in and do what you can do and get as strong as you possibly can on these exercises that you are physically capable of doing. All right, next question. Hey Jason, what are your thoughts on physiotherapy exercises like Swiss ball core movements after having a car accident? My hip and back hurts. My physical therapist wants me to do Swiss ball presses and Swiss ball glute bridges. They don't seem to work after months. Thanks. Yeah, you got a case of someone who I know is a squatter and deadlifter who, you've been injured in a car accident and your physiotherapist has you doing silly fluff and pump Swiss ball exercises instead of rebuilding your back muscles. Because you know what I can tell you right now, the fact that you're not squatting and deadlifting is going to make your back hurt also. Every single person I have ever met who trains hard, who then detrains, their back hurts. Their back hurts until they're able to train again. The fact that this physiotherapist hasn't gotten you back under a barbell after months and still has you doing silly, useless, ineffective garbage like this, I think it's malpractice personally. Now, granted, I'm not a physiotherapist, but it would seem to me that common sense would dictate that if you take a reasonably strong lifter who has a decent squat and deadlift, because I believe this is a regular poster here, and I've seen that she's reasonably strong on the squat and deadlift. Some of the videos she's put up, that this physical therapist is allowing you to detrain Maybe they don't have your best interest in mind. And that is what I've heard some strength and conditioning coaches say, that physical therapy in many cases is a racket. It is a racket. They're interested in just making money. And that could be the case here. But it sounds like if that's literally what they have you do, sitting on a Swiss ball, like doing presses while sitting down, any person on the face of the earth who would prescribe overhead pressing while sitting down is a damn quack. If your coach has you do that, you need to fire them. Let me state that again. Any coach even who has a person sit down while overhead pressing needs to be fired. They're not qualified to teach people how to exercise. They're not qualified to teach people how to lift. They need to find a different profession. You want to talk about hurting your back? Get strong on an overhead press while sitting down. That has a highest chance of back injury of anything I can think of as far as overhead pressing goes. That's the most dangerous way to overhead press. But, you know, it is what it is. Man, I'm salty today. But yeah, in your experience so far, here's the thing you've noticed with all this. They're not working. They haven't helped you so far. You need a different physical therapist. Fire this one and get a different one. All right, next question. Hey man, could a person benefit from using 5x5 or other low rep schemes on typical 10 plus rep exercises such as chest supported rows, pull downs, and leg presses, assuming they can't squat and deadlift? Cheers. What do you mean low rep? 5x5 is not low rep. What? Dude, 5x5 is moderate rep range. That's pretty much hypertrophy work. So I don't really know what you mean low reps. I mean, I consider low reps to be 3 or less. 3 or less. 5 sets of 5 you can usually do with a 7 to 8 rep max. Now, back to answer your question though, could you do 5x5 with these? Of course you could. Of course you could. Now I'm assuming, because I'm noticing the trend here, there is no compression of the spine going on here and you can't squat and deadlift. I'm assuming you've had a back injury. You know, and being that as it is, if you're not able to rehab that back injury, I understand that. I would say though, see if you can get an expert who can rebuild you to the point where you can squat and deadlift. And if you can't fix that, yeah, you can do 5x5 on these exercises. Of course you can. But you need to get strong enough to do weighted chin-ups instead of pull downs and chest supported rows. You need to get strong enough to do those. You need to get strong enough to do chin-ups and pull-ups, weighted. And even if your back can't take the decompression with it hanging, then, you know, get a heavy backpack, get a heavy weighted vest. But that's where you need to put your focus then. I wouldn't play around with these chest-supported rows. I wouldn't play around with lat pull-downs. Now, leg presses you might be forced to do because of, again, sounds like a back injury, and that's fine. But also maybe do some glute ham raises. Yeah, get strong on glute ham raises. That would be a real good idea. And you can also do belt squats. See if you can find a setup or a facility to where you have access to the ability to do belt squats also. That would probably serve you better than a leg press. And it would still be easier on your lower back than a leg press in a lot of ways. So I would look into doing that also. All right, next question. Jason. If I'm taking creatine after my workout, is it better to take it right after I'm done lifting weights or after I do my cardio? I do the lifts first and go to the treadmill for 30 minutes. Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't think it matters. Most of the data we have on creatine supplementation is post-workout, but here's the thing. Do you really think it's enough of a difference to matter? Creatine itself doesn't do that much. And what do we know about creatine non-responders? Creatine non-responders are people who eat red meat regularly. Do you think they're just consuming it post-workout? In fact, most of them who, you know, people will argue that that doesn't make sense because they're not getting the effective dose of creatine. That's right. Maybe your effective dose that people have you take is a lot more than you actually need, because these people who are only getting a gram or 2 of creatine a day in their diet don't respond to supplementation. And do you think they're eating that post-workout every day, or is that just spread out? They're not even eating the red meat every day. It's just people who have several servings a week don't respond to creatine because they get enough in their diet. So if you think about it that way and you look at it from that perspective, all right, you look at it from that perspective, it probably doesn't really matter. It probably doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things when you get your creatine in. Just make sure you get it in. You want to take it after your weights, do it after your weights. You want to do it after your cardio, do it after your cardio. You want to rotate it around because just when you remember to take it, it will probably all balance out the same. I really and truly wouldn't worry about it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.